Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you tonight from the heart. No sugarcoating, no fluff. I want to break something down that's hard to swallow, but it's the truth. The title says, if he really loves you, he disappears. And some of y'all are already shaking your heads, thinking, love, don't walk away. But hear me out. True love isn't always loud or present. It sometimes is sacrificial. A lot of people have this idea that love should be constant, that it should always be visible and present. If he loves you, he'll be there every day, right? He'll call, he'll text, he'll show up. That's what we're told. But real love moves deeper than routines. It's not always something you can see or touch in the moment. Sometimes love doesn't show up with flowers and good morning texts. Sometimes love shows up by stepping back. A man can love you deeply and still choose to remove himself from your life, not because the love isn't real, but because it is. See, a man who truly loves a woman sees her value, sees her spirit, sees her strength. And if he looks at himself and knows he's not in a place to match that, he has two choices: stay and fake it, or leave and figure it out. The world tells men to tough it out, to stick around even when they're broken, but real love doesn't want to harm. Real love doesn't want to stand in the way of what's best for the other person. That's the part we don't talk about enough. We talk about fighting for love, staying no matter what, but we don't talk about the man who walks away because he refuses to bring his baggage into your peace. That's a different kind of strength. It's the kind that says, I love you enough to not let my mess touch you. And that kind of love, that sacrificial love, is rare. Most people think disappearance is cowardice. They think it's about avoiding responsibility. And yes, sometimes it is. Sometimes people ghost and walk away because they're scared or selfish. But that's not the man we're talking about. We're talking about the man who disappears because he's facing himself, because he realizes that love is not about possession, it's about protection. He protects you from himself, from his unfinished healing, his undissolved wounds, his unstable life. And here's the thing, that kind of love is silent. It doesn't come with explanations. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't leave a note on the door. It just fades out, quietly, painfully. And while you're left wondering what went wrong, he's out there trying to fix what he knows isn't right within him, trying to become the man who can love you without hurting you. That's not weakness. That's not indifference. That's sacrifice. Because love, real love, doesn't always take the form we expect. It's not always loud, bold, or visible. Sometimes love looks like walking away, not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much to stay broken in your presence. And he knows that staying while broken would only break you too.
A man's silence can be a sign of his internal struggle, growth, or protection. We often misinterpret silence. We think it means disinterest, abandonment, or weakness. But silence isn't always a lack of love. Sometimes it's a reflection of a battle being fought on the inside. There are things men carry that they don't talk about, and the way they deal with it doesn't always look like what we expect. When a man goes quiet, when he pulls away, it doesn't automatically mean he's gone cold. In many cases, that silence is loud with emotion, confusion, and responsibility. Men are taught from a young age to hold it in, be strong. Don't cry, don't show weakness. So what do when life hits them hard? When they feel like they're not enough, they shut down. They retreat into their heads. They overthink. They question themselves. That silence is where they wrestle with their doubts, their fears, and their flaws. And when a man truly loves someone, the pressure gets heavier. He doesn't want to mess it up. He doesn't want to bring his chaos into something he sees as pure. So instead of saying all the wrong things, instead of risking hurting the woman he loves, he chooses silence. That silence becomes his space to figure things out, even if it means pushing her away temporarily. Internal growth is never loud. It's not performed on social media. It doesn't come with announcements. It happens in the quiet moments, behind closed doors. That silence, that distance, it might be the very place where he's working to become better. He could be reflecting on his habits, breaking generational cycles, questioning his own behavior. Growth takes self-awareness, and that often begins in solitude. Sometimes he disappears not because he's avoiding you, but because he's confronting himself. And that confrontation is not easy. It's raw. It's uncomfortable. It forces him to be honest about who he is and what he's capable of giving. Then there's protection. Not all silence is selfish. A man might choose to be silent because he's protecting you from what he's going through. He knows his words might not come out right. He knows his actions might be unpredictable. He doesn't want to confuse you, burden you, or make you feel like you're responsible for fixing him. So he stays silent. And not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't want to make you carry weight that isn't yours. This silence is hard to understand, especially when you're on the receiving end. It makes you question everything. Did he stop caring? Did something change? But not all answers are spoken. Sometimes a man's silence is him saying, I'm not okay, but I'm trying. It's him saying, oh, I see your worth, and I don't want to damage. And while he may never say those words out loud, his silence might just be the only way he knows how to say them at all. Disappearing isn't always about rejection, but sometimes about respect. It's easy to assume that when someone walks away, it means they don't care, that they've stopped loving you, that they've made a choice to move on without a second thought. But in reality, there are moments when a person leaves not because they've lost feeling, but because they hold you in too high regard to stay when they know they're not in the right place to be what you need. That kind of leaving is not a dismissal. It's a quiet acknowledgement of their own limitations in a form of respect that doesn't always come with clarity or comfort. When a man disappears, especially when love is still present, it creates confusion. It leaves a person on the other end questioning their worth, questioning what they did wrong. But what often goes unseen is the weight of that man's internal conflict. If he truly respects you, he doesn't want to mislead you. He doesn't want to give you half himself while pretending it's whole. So instead of staying and slowly dismantling the bond with lies, avoidance, or emotional distance, he leaves. Not because you're not enough, but because he knows he isn't. Respect shows up in many forms, and sometimes the most difficult form to recognize is distance. It's not romantic. It doesn't look like love in the movies. There's no grand speech or slow motion goodbye. It's quiet, it's sudden, it hurts. But underneath that pain is a kind of honesty that doesn't always get credit. A man who vanishes out of respect is making a choice to avoid damaging you. He might not know how to fix himself yet, but he knows he's not in a position to offer the consistency, safety, or stability you deserve. There's also the respect of not wanting to take advantage of your love. Some men recognize how deeply a woman feels for them, how loyal and forgiving she is, and they know they can stay and be loved in spite of their flaws. But instead of leaning into that and using that love as a crutch, they walk away. They understand that to stay would mean benefiting from something they haven't earned. They respect you too much to take from you when they can't give back in equal measure. That's not cowardice. That's a kind of accountability. People often want closure, want reasons, want explanations that tie things up neatly. But the truth is, not every disappearance is dramatic or malicious. Some are quiet exits made with heavy hearts and thoughtful minds. A man might leave because he's trying to figure out how to show up fully, how to love you without conditions, without guilt, without the risk of hurting you through his unresolved pain. And in that moment, his silence, his absence, is his way of saying, I won't disrespect you by pretending I'm ready when I'm not. It's a choice rooted not in rejection, but in a deep, unspoken respect for who you are and what you mean to him. Real love values timing, healing, and readiness. Love on its own is powerful, but love without the right timing can turn into confusion, frustration, and heartbreak. So many people believe that love should conquer all, that if someone loves you, they'll be ready, they'll stay, they'll fight. But what gets overlooked is that timing matters just as much as the emotion itself. You can meet the right person at the wrong time and still lose them. Not because the love wasn't real, but because one or both people weren't in a place to nurture it properly. When a man loves a woman, but knows he's not in a space where he can give her what she needs, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that love alone isn't enough. He might be battling things she knows nothing about. He might be trying to break patterns he grew up with, struggling to define who he is without dragging the weight of his past into their future. And in those moments, walking away becomes less about leaving her and more about allowing himself the time to become better. He doesn't want to be loved through his healing. He wants to be whole enough to bring peace into her life, not pain. Healing isn't linear. A man who loves deeply and truly wants to build something lasting will understand that without healing, love becomes heavy. Without readiness, love becomes a responsibility instead of a joy. Real love doesn't want to be a burden. It doesn't want to come with apology after apology, with broken promises and emotional roller coaster. Real love wants to arrive whole, not perfect, but self-aware, accountable, and intentional. Timing isn't just about what day or year someone shows up. It's about where they are in their journey. Are they ready to be consistent? Are they emotionally available? Do they even know how to love someone in a way that doesn't cost them their peace? These are the questions that matter, and sometimes the answers don't come when the feelings do. A man can love you and still realize he's not ready to be the man you deserve. That realization doesn't erase the love. It deepens it because it shows he's thinking beyond himself. He's thinking about what's fair to you. Readiness isn't just about finances or success or having everything figured out. It's about emotional maturity. It's about being able to communicate, to commit, to be vulnerable without using silence or anger as a defense. If he's not there yet, real love might make him step away. Not because he's weak or unsure about you, but because he knows that love without readiness can lead to resentment. And he'd rather grow in the dark than ruin something beautiful in the light. So when he disappears, it might not be the end of the story. It might just be the space where he's becoming the version of himself that love requires. Because real love doesn't rush. Real love understands that when the time, the healing, and the readiness finally align, that's when love can truly last.